Tonight, a new video from the Harris campaign showcasing Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, talking candidly about the election.
I talk about it being halftime in America. We're a touchdown down, but once you start that momentum, once we come out and where we're at right now, people want to be part of something that's winning. They want to be part of something that's good, and they want to be part of something that everybody can be a part of. And I kind of like the idea of being a little bit behind.
Well, I'm looking at Coach Walz right now. I'm looking at Coach Walz.
Elena Shreen is out front live in Bedminster, New Jersey, where Trump was speaking earlier. Elena, you were at the Trump event today. Was this what his campaign wanted from him today?
Well, put it this way, Sarah, it started off that way. And, it was interesting. I go to many of Donald Trump's speeches. I've been to these events before. And he brought out a binder with him, and he was reading line by line. He didn't just stay on script. He had his finger, I noticed, marking where he was, clearly trying to stay on message on that point. And look, the economy is really the goal for the Trump campaign this week. That is what they wanted him to talk about. And part of that is because they really do believe if Donald Trump can focus on the economy, but more specifically try to tie Kamala Harris to Joe Biden's policies, they believe that he will poll higher on that issue, and that is a way for him to win in November. And you mentioned he had those props there. It was very clear that that was the message they wanted to portray. However, once he started taking questions from reporters, you really saw that restraint go out the window. Now, I did ask him specifically about something that we've been talking about for a few weeks now, which is that many of Donald Trump's allies, the people who want him to win in November, are urging him to shift his strategy. They say that he needs to have a more disciplined message and talk about the issues, including the economy, but also crime and immigration. And he said that, he didn't necessarily believe that he needed to get rid of the personal attacks. Take a listen to how he put it.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence. And I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite.
So as you could hear there, Sarah, I asked him this directly. Do you think you need to stop with the personal attacks? He said, no, I think I'm entitled to them, and that actually makes me very angry. So very clear that he is not heeding that advice. And I also just want to point out quickly that, after that, he went on to continue to attack Harris and also kind of, played the victim card. It was the Donald Trump we've seen in the past, the Donald Trump we all know well, where he was saying, everyone is out to get me. They're trying to go after me with these legal cases. And he went on for a very long time. So I think it was very clear that despite what he is hearing from his campaign, from his allies about staying on message, he doesn't necessarily agree with that. Sarah?
Elena Shreen in Bedminster, thank you so much. Let's keep this conversation going. Paul Begala, we heard from both Harris and Trump today. Harris talked about reducing drug prices. Trump talked about reducing the price of goods. Who was more effective?
Well, again, I'm a Democrat. I'm going to say Harris. But as a professional, her event, I just be candid, okay, call it as is. But her event was focused. Her performance was joyful, energetic, hopeful, optimistic. And again, focused, right? Political strategists send you out there to say something. You're supposed to hit your mark and say it, right? This is why Ronald Reagan was the great communicator. Contrast that with Mr. Trump. And I mean this as a human more than a political strategist. It was pitiful. I felt pity. It was like some rocker from the 80s trying to reboot his career in the 2020s. And he comes out and, he's bloated and he's bald and he can't hit the high notes and he screws up the guitar lick and he forgets the lyrics. And you feel sorry for him, but you're not buying a ticket to his next show.
Sure, Michael Singleton, not buying a ticket to the next show. What did you think of Donald Trump's performance, if you will?
First of all, good to see you, Sarah. Look, did the former president meander a little bit here and there? Of course he did. That's just style. Most Americans are used to that. But there were some substantive things that he said that I think were noteworthy. A reporter asked him about price control. Vice President Harris essentially saying she's going to use the FTC to control prices. What about supply and demand economics? I guess we're sort of throwing that out of the window. I don't think most Americans would actually like that when they realize what the implications are, not only on food, but a whole host of other goods that enter and exit the country. He talked about the Vice President and her position on fracking, being against it, now being forward, and the implications for Pennsylvania workers, the implication on energy as we look more towards AI computing. You need energy in order to expand there. He talked a little bit about workers without college degrees. A reporter asked him a question there about firing folks. He said, look, companies want to hire people who work well, and workers should also have a good relationship with their company. He gave some credit to Sean O'Brien. So there were good moments if you're looking for substance, that if we're being objective here, and that's not to, I guess, ignore some of the interesting commentary that we typically see from him, but there were parts that I think matter that could move the needle forward for the former president if he sticks to those issues. And I just want to highlight those things for our viewers.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark Caputo. You've been doing a heck of a lot of reporting on what's been happening behind the scenes on the Trump campaign. This presser today didn't stay on message. It did start on message. I want to play one other thing that Donald Trump said today.
I think I'm doing a very calm campaign. I mean, we're here. There's no shouting. Now, you'll say he ranted and raved, and not you, but some of you will say he ranted and raved. I didn't rant and rave. I'm a very calm person, believe it or not. If I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be around.
So is he right?
If he were as calm as he says he is, his campaign probably wouldn't be beefing up its senior level staff. He's added Taylor Budowich, a longtime advisor prior to this presidential campaign, and Corey Lewandowski is a long ago campaign manager. Both of them are going to function as people who not only advise President or former President Trump and have a good relationship with him, but also can work with his current existing campaign managers and senior advisors. One of the things that you're seeing with Trump at these events is that he doesn't stay on script, and there are those who have worked for him in the past, who still advise him today, say that when he diverts from the script too much, it's because he's not fully embracing it. He's not fully feeling it. And so they're bringing in these other people to kind of help bridge that divide. One of the reasons there's that divide is that the candidate's not calm. He's not very happy with the current position he's in. There was a very telling comment at the very beginning of this press conference he made off the top of his head, and he's made it before, which is something to the effect of, my God, why did I do such a good job in that debate against Joe Biden? I knocked him out of the race. I shouldn't have done that. He misses running against Joe Biden.
And that was apparent because he talked about Joe Biden quite a bit. Paul, I want to ask you about this.
Right.
Biden is jumping in on this. He's getting in on attacks against Donald Trump. Here's a bit of what he said today.
Trump says he wants to make America affordable again. Your response?
So he ought to get a job. The guy we're running against, what's his name? Donald Dump or Donald whatever. You may have heard about the MAGA Republican Project 2025 plan. Let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them.
Now, Paul, prices are up 20%. Is Biden an asset to Harris on the trail, or could he become a liability?
Oh, I think he's an asset. The problem people had with Biden was that he's too old. That was it. It was it. Inflation is too high. It's true. There are issues that the Democrats have to respond to. They did that today. The prescription drug cost reduction that Kamala Harris and the president and the Congress enacted is the most popular thing I've seen in polling this year. I mean, I advise a bunch of super PACs. We've done a lot of polling. It's the most popular. And you know this, Sarah, but it's the 10 most expensive drugs for seniors. And because Medicare has now negotiated, the cost is coming down 50 to 75%. It's going to save the taxpayers over $6 billion, save consumers over $1.5 billion. It's actually reducing your costs. And Democrats need to engage this instead of running away from it. What they used to say is, oh, we did such a great job. We have the lowest inflation of any OECD nation. And people out there say, well, I can't feed my kids. Eggs are up 40%. This is a much better strategy. Say, I know costs are too high, and we're bringing them down. And that's a much better way for Democrats to campaign on this.
Shermarkle, to you, I want to play a little bit more of the video that Harris Walt's campaign released with these two candidates and have you speak to it on the other side.
I have white guy tacos and
What is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
Okay, so do you think they're outdoing Trump advance when it comes to sort of hitting on people's emotions with this sort of likability little chat here, or do you see something else?
I mean, look, the vice president is definitely a likable person, so I'm not surprised there. I think regardless of your politics, you can look at her and say, all right, I could probably have a funny conversation with her. But at some point, vibes go away because people in the middle recognize the bills have to get paid, Sarah. They recognize the lights have to stay on. They got to put food on the table. And so it's one thing to feel great and feel excited, but what's the policy propositions that you're proposing to move things forward to reduce that 20% increase on the cost of goods writ large? We haven't seen that yet. And so while I recognize the moment, I recognize it's sort of superseded politics, it's become a cultural thing, at the end of the day, you still got to pay the bills, you still got to get things done. And that's what we still need to see from the vice president and her running mate. And we haven't seen that yet.